Hi, everybody. Welcome to Drumfills Cafe in English. If you don't know, we have Drumfills Cafe in French, in English, in Spanish, and Portuguese. Over the years, we did like so many interviews. We have like, I think, accumulating more than almost 400 interviews now. And the good things about that is we can discover new artists, people passionate about music. If you don't know all that, go on our website. It's www.drumfillscafe.com. There's like all the channels there. So that my point is like we have Facebook, Instagram, and other ones. So if you want to know in which one we are, just click on them. We have different content. We sometimes we have contests. We have also like article. So I'm inviting you to go discover all these content. So, but for today, let's go with our artist of the day. So I'm gonna do a short presentation. It's a drummer, singer, composer, founder and executive director of the Canadian Drumline Association. He's owner of Mad Practice Pad and Mad Cymbal Shield. He did a lot of things. He wrote some books. We'll talk about that actually. So let's welcome Michael Beauclerc. How are you doing, Michael?
Hello. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for coming. Thanks to accept the invitation. I know you for a long time. I mean, I saw you passing in the in like magazine or in social media, and I heard your name all over the years. And I remember when I saw your name passing, I was like, one day we should interview that guy because you're spokespersons for the drumline. You're very like into the Canadian drumline. But before we go into that, let's talk about your path. I know I was reading your review and it says you were very influenced by the Muppets or like drummer like back then. But who have been your why did you decide to jump on a drum at a young age? Like, let's say, does you have a teacher or someone in your family was a musician? Let's talk about.
Yep. Yeah. My dad was a semi-professional drummer for about 30 years. So drums were in my house. My mom also sang. So she sang at home the whole time she was looking after us, and she sometimes sang in bands as well. So the music was just always around. And so I got a plastic Muppet drum set when I was 2 years old from Santa, and I played it every single day. So then when I was 3, Santa brought me a real drum set. And it was just it was a little Stewart drum set. And
Japanese.
And I beat that thing until I could get a paper route and buy something better. But
so this drum is not alive yet. It's done. There's no more.
there's nothing. I have one of the toms, but just the shell. And that's all I have left of it. They have been completely destroyed.
Yeah. I can feel you on that. And that's great because I was reading you're a singer. So you're drumming and singing at the same time, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
That's hard. That's a hard game to do.
It is. It's something that I practice every day. So when I practice for all my bands, I practice singing the harmonies at the same time. But there are limits. There are some times where it's like, this is a little too tricky for me. Also, I went through a time where I had torn all the tendons in my right ankle. And so I had to teach myself to play my kit with my left foot. And there were a few times where I was playing left-footed, and then I had to sing, and my brain was like, this is...
Give me a break.
This is a little too much. And eventually I was able to do it, but there was a few months there where I wasn't singing because it was just, my brain was just working so hard to play all those patterns left-footed.
And are you the guy, do you like to have a microphone behind you on a stand on the side, or like a clip one, or like a headset? What's your setup when you're singing?
Yeah, so right now I'm using a boom arm, and I'm bringing it up very high above my hi-hat, so it comes down at an angle. And that way it's not in my way of striking my hi-hat or my auxiliary snare. I was using a head mic, and I switched to a very nice head mic, but I was still getting a lot of cymbal bleed.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And so Soundman would hear the cymbal bleed and turn off my mic before I even start singing. And then I would get YouTube of the show, and all the harmonies are missing. So I went through a big process. So I actually reached out to Shure, and they suggested the Beta 56A, which is like a tom-tom mic.
Yep.
And then I actually built my own prototype of a shield that goes on my vocal mic.
Oh, okay, that's great.
So I have a little plexi shield that goes on my vocal mic so that my cymbals don't go into the microphone.
Yeah,
and
that's
almost nobody has noticed ever. I've had friends and family
No,
come to shows and they didn't notice that I've got this shield on my mic.
like a
So
like a
yeah,
round. It's clipped, I guess. It's just a clip.
yeah. So it's actually measured and cut to the exact diameter of the microphone. So you unscrew the screen
Ah,
and put
okay,
it
okay,
on
okay.
and screw the screen back on.
Good back. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I've seen some stuff like that recently. They have a like a kind of a cage or like a box you can put on top of a mic between the hi-hat and the snare for the sound doesn't leak of the hi-hat in that mic. So I've
Mm.
seen a few things like that, but I never seen something for singing. But what was your? I mean, are you doing different genre like a top 40, or you're more comfortable in classic rock and things like that? Because there's some style quite hard to sing and drum at the same time, let's say. But what is your niche, or like what you like to sing when you're playing drum?
It is, and also it's like an instrument. We have to understand our voice and what it is that we're good at,
Yeah,
and where our strengths and weaknesses are.
totally.
So I have many tribute bands that I have created with a friend.
Yep.
So we have a company called Outshout Entertainment, and the first one that we did was a David Bowie tribute.
Yeah, the Bowie, I saw that.
That's
Yep.
that's the main one, and but that lead singer and I have been performing together for over 20 years.
Okay,
So we just sing very well together. So
great.
I have that Bowie show with him. I have Blondie and Talking Heads,
Okay.
and I also have Adele and Michael Bublé.
Oh, that's great. That's good. Good.
Yeah,
Good. It's a good top 40. All these artists have good songs to sing too.
yeah, it is. And the Adele was surprisingly fun. Like there's some great hip hop grooves and some funk grooves and beautiful brushes. Like we're doing all the things, and even the Michael Bublé. You're swinging, or it's pop, or it's brushes.
Yeah.
Lots of different things. Yeah, the Bowie is it's all rock, or there's some like industrial hip hop in there later on.
Okay.
But for the Bowie, I definitely use a really large kit because you're covering so many decades of music that there's just a lot of toms and two snares, and it's a big setup for that show.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But we do you are you mainly playing in casino, hotels, or wedding, or you do like whatever corporates gig that
Yeah,
can
it's
be
well, I'll do
there?
anything because I have kids to feed. But
Okay.
for those bands, they're mostly theaters.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's great. It's
Yep.
good condition, good environment.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
like a
Exactly.
night the bar at midnight. So you have like a time to like do a good quality contract, and it's
Yeah.
nicer for you too anyway. So like I mean, it's entertaining. Keep your mind happy. Like I mean, I'm not saying playing in a bar is not nice. I'm just saying like when you do big production, like you're talking about with singers and like a
Mhm.
big cover band with lights and everything, a theater would be more suitable for sure.
It
That's
is.
great.
It's nice. And then I do substitute in many bands as well because again, working drummer, we have to eat.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah, so I'm playing in a 1980s band this weekend,
Okay.
and it's at a big brewery. It's a private party for somebody,
Okay.
somebody who can afford to rent a brewery and hire a band, and
Okay.
which is cool.
Yes,
And
I
it's a fun challenge. It's going to be 38 tracks, and they all have stems and a click.
Ah, okay. All by computer, just
Yeah.
following. Okay.
Yeah, so the bass and guitar and drums are live, and then all the keyboards, all of the percussion,
Pre-recorded.
it's all recorded. So no
Did you do
mistakes.
that? Did you pre-record the tracks, or it's someone else?
No,
Like
this is
no.
someone else, and I'm substituting.
Ah, okay, okay, okay.
So yeah, so I'm just dropping in. I play with them maybe twice a year. Very fun.
Yeah, why
But
not?
yeah, so I was just before our meeting, I was just playing through that material here at home.
Oh, okay. Well, it's funny you're saying that. I met one guy a long time ago. He was doing something similar. All was pre-recorded, but all. So even the drumming was a V drum, and the drummer was faking drumming. All was faking.
Oh,
So even guitar they were playing, but they were always pre-recorded, except vocals. I think the main vocal not, but all the backup tracks, whatever was
wow.
back vocal, all was pre-recorded, except the sorry the solo guitar solo. And I'm like, he's like, yeah, well, we do 2 hour gigs. I don't have to play for real, getting paid, and it just happens. There's people like they're already money machines, so they have an idea, and it will be the same
Right.
show every time, no matter
Right.
what. If I'm switching a musician, it's gonna run.
Hmm.
So
No,
well,
that's
it's
pretty
funny,
cool.
but good for you. Good for you. So where are you based right now?
I live in a little village north of Peterborough. So I live in a village called Lakefield.
Okay,
So
cool.
Peterborough is like 90 minutes northeast of Toronto.
Yep.
So for
Yep.
people far away, I'm kind of halfway between Toronto and Ottawa.
Yeah, yeah, I've been there. I've been a long time ago. Like, yeah, but I know exactly where it is. Yeah, but
Yeah,
so it's great because you're not so far from both, so you can drive in different markets. That's fine. That's nice.
that's right. Yeah, I can make it to all those things. And this is the cottage country of Canada.
Yeah,
So there's just hundreds of lakes and everything's on, and we're on a river system. It's very, very pretty. I've got rabbits in my backyard and right now, and it's
that's
very
great.
pretty. Yeah, but I'm only 10 minutes away from the city of Peterborough.
Oh,
So
that's great.
yeah,
Um, I was mentioning you before we start recording. You have a great collection of snares. So I'm guessing you're probably the guy with the biggest collection of snare drum in Petersburg in your neighborhood. But you have a
yes,
great
probably.
collection of snares, so it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've seen like a lot of drum corps, like standard snare. But let's talk about the drum line because you've been very involved in drum line. You're a spokesperson, you're a teacher. You're playing, you're giving masterclass clinics. What drives you to do that? Because I know what drives me, but it's different for everybody. So what is your drive like trying to teach kids or family or like new musician to be into that, like as a, it can be drumline or teaching or music, like what is your goal doing going that?
Well, I started doing drumline when I was 14,
Okay.
and I did it until 21 because that's what it works in drum corps. You're only allowed to compete
Yep.
until you're 21. And then I
It's true.
thought I would never do it again. I thought it was
Done.
amazing. Like marching
Yep.
band is for kids. There is no income in this. A lot of the world's greatest ensembles, their staff are volunteers.
Yeah.
So I didn't see it as a pathway to a career.
Okay.
But when I started teaching lessons in Toronto, people found out about my marching chops, my practice pad chops, and that started really growing my lesson base. And my lesson students became less and less high school kids and more working adults, working
Okay.
professional drummers coming to see me. So the drumline thing just started to sort of grow out of that, and that's when I wrote my first book, and it just kept kind of expanding. So eventually, I worked with a school in Toronto to start a drumline there,
Okay.
and a big private school, and it went really well. And then one of my friends who I
Great.
marched with as a boy, who was a horn player, he started a drum line at his school. And
Okay.
so, yeah, so then we just started doing events where we would play for each other. We'd invite all the drum lines to come and play for each other. And then we had some success with that. And then everyone's like, okay, it's time. We want to compete. We want to have a circuit, and we need you to create the whole thing.
So that was the start, but that's amazing.
That's
So
the
you've been the
start.
founder, and
Mhm.
like how many people are involved in that now since that day?
Yeah, so we have like 8 of us between our board of directors
Yep.
and the people that help us run it in each province. There's about 8 of us that are in contact to run the organization. I am
Okay.
the executive director, and then for ensembles we have just over 100 ensembles competing with us
It's a
right now,
lot. It's
which
crazy.
again 15 years ago was zero. So and they're all very fairly new skills wise,
Okay.
and many of them are not taught by people with a drumline background, which is okay. This is the beginning,
The big
but
exactly.
if I'm having a difficult day, one of the things I could think about is that with about 100 ensembles, that's well over 1,000 children will be playing drums this week,
Wow.
and
It's massive.
that helps you feel better when you're having a tough day.
Yeah, that's a great
So
accomplishment.
so
Congratulations
that's
for that. It's not easy because I know to manage a few things, it's hard, but managing a full division like different provinces and people and as ensemble, it's a lot of work. Just communication. So just for that, I'm give you like my hat. Thanks,
thank
like thanks
you.
to doing that. It's pretty good achievement.
Yeah, and creating an adjudication system that
Yes.
works for Canadian ensembles as opposed to American ensembles that have had the history and have the background, and
Yep.
creating the different levels, and then hiring adjudicators and training all the adjudicators,
Yep.
coordinating them in every province.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. Yeah, it's a
It's a
lot,
lot.
but
Yeah,
so many
but
kids get to
it's
drum.
exactly. But at least at the end of the day, it's it's a it's a good recognition for you for sure.
Yeah,
It's
it's a lot
great.
of fun. Yeah,
There's I'm right now I'm in Texas and in San Antonio, and not far from the I was doing a Christmas show, and just in front of the theater they had like a big field, football field, and maybe every 3 days they have big drum corps practice, like full band. I didn't see them, but I could hear them, and
cool.
it was pretty tight. It was pretty
Yeah.
good. Yeah, it was high school, so I'm guessing like they're like 19, 18, 17, this age. So it's always entertaining to hear that. You have a break, you go outside and you hear them practice, and it's nice. Sounds good. But that's amazing. And and just to keep going on that, you did some competition. You ran into like different levels of association, or like or different level of quality of musician. Um, Now you've been working with a lot of them. What is your next step? Because we always have ideas, and like you want to what is your new dream with this association after 15 years? It's a lot.
It is a lot. So for that association, what we have new this year is we're going to be adding marching winds.
Okay,
So this will be marching brass and saxophones and reed instruments.
full band.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, to compete indoors in a gym with no drum
Yeah.
line, just the winds.
Oh, okay, that's great.
And so, yeah, so we want to have that. This is something that America has had for a few years now.
Yeah.
And we're hoping that this will be able to help bring in some schools that don't have drumline yet, but are
Mhm.
interested in the activity. They can come and see and understand what it is that we do.
Mm.
So it will get more kids involved in our association and music in general, but it will hopefully also grow to have more marching drum lines in schools.
Totally.
And then farther down the road, once we have that, for 5 years ish, we'll see. Then it would be a logical step for us to eventually have full marching band competitions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I
So
wish you all the best with that.
thank you.
But how do you manage to be to have so many division all around the provinces, and you can keep your standard running? Like I know you told me you have some manager or director of the division, but I mean, I'm sure you have like meetings and like a book or whatever of how things should be done. But
Yeah.
yeah, and how you be sure how you're making sure everything is respected in the way it should be for this association.
Yeah. So that's exactly it. So we created a members booklet that has everything for all the member
Okay.
drum lines to understand. And we also have an adjudicators booklet. So I have an online meetings with each province,
Okay.
inviting those band directors to come online, and then that same thing with the judges. And
Okay.
then it's just this past year that I've started getting help in the other provinces. Until
Okay.
now, it's all been me. My assistant director is Chad Morford, and he helped me create the association, but he stays here in Ontario, and he handles more of the business side of it, and I handle
Okay.
more of the people and drumming side of it. So I make a point of being, if I can, at every provincial championship each year.
Okay.
So I try, and we don't have a budget to fly me out. We're just a nonprofit.
No.
So I try and work out a clinic tour with my sponsors
Okay.
to already be in that province around the time of the provincial championship. So then I can take a day and help run that event and adjudicate, and then continue with my clinic tour.
That's good. And you're in the this is what I like too. Like for example, you're with Yamaha and Sabian, Remo, Vickford. They're very supportive to help artists, but also to grow their market. Yamaha will push you a lot in Canada. Like they're very proactive. So I'm sure it's helpful because they have great instrument too for drum corps. It's not just drum, you know. Like they do class
Yeah.
like orchestral stuff, they do drum corps, they do rock stuff, they can do for everybody. So it's a good you have the a good you have a good sponsor to feed you with what you need with instruments. So I'm sure that help you a lot, and you can find them in almost every stores. Like I
Yeah.
mean 95% of the stores have Yamaha line at least for playing on something, so that's amazing for you. It's a good access.
Yeah. And people people ask why a drummer works with a specific company.
Hmm.
And for me, I think it's a trinity, a triangle. So I think one is, do you actually like the product and would like to play them
Yeah.
and trust the product? And then two is, do they support workshops and artists or not? Because some don't have budget for that and others do. It just depends on
Yeah.
what they find important for their business model and their philosophy. And then the third factor is, do you like the people that work there, because you need to work with them and email them and call them and travel with them.
Yep, for
And
sure.
so do you get along with those humans? So I think it's a little trinity like that. And I've been very lucky to find that with each of these groups.
Yeah, that's important because the business is big, but it's small at the same time. Like, I mean, when you think about that, when you jumped in it, you know everybody around, so it's very easy to deal with someone or not. So it's important if you like the product, you like that community, that managing a company. I feel you. I'm in the same place, so it's a huge thing to work on. And for example, I was in Mexico for a long time, and they have like a Yamaha rep too. So he always helped me out with different things. So different division, but if I need a kit, I was just getting a call or email, and boom, I could have like something there. So it's really convenient when you tour, because sometimes you never know what you're gonna get for backline. So some cities, they don't have exactly what you want, but at least they will have a YAM. For example, happened to me, like I have to play on a stage custom, so it's perfect. They sounds great, good with good head. It's an amazing kit.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would be perfect for what I have to do. But for example, I've been in Romania, and the kit was pretty bad. It was a random kit, beaded, like very in bad shape. But sometimes you cannot control that. Even the distributor is like, it's what we got at the moment.
Yeah.
But at least the little support they can do at that time. So yeah, I understand your point. And other things, when you do a drum corps, it's not just a drum. You have to carry the bass drum, a lot of snare. You need a big budget for that too. So I'm sure when you do like the winds, it's a little bit easier to carry around for sure. But if
Mhm.
you are with Yamaha, for example, they are offering like all the drums and all those winds instruments. So that's a great plus for you too. You have access to these instruments for kids or ensemble. So I'm pretty sure you're taking advantage of that for sure.
Yeah, it's pretty wonderful.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
and
good.
there have been times where I've done early on. I was doing some tours with Yamaha, and they're trying to ship drum lines all across Canada for me on
Okay.
skids, and it was
That's good.
getting to be pretty ridiculous. So so what worked out more recently is that I will partner with a school or an organization that has drums, and they'll lend them to me while I'm in Vancouver or
Oh
Calgary or
yeah.
whichever. And then in turn, I might do a workshop at their school or for them for free to thank them for
Hmm.
lending me the drums.
Well, that's
Yeah.
great. It's a good
So,
idea
so we work it
because
out. It's a community.
it's a community. Yeah, and for sure, when you do like just a snare demo, like a demo, whatever, you can carry a snare. But if you need to carry a full, like you just said, like a full ensemble, it's impossible. It will be so expensive for nothing
Yeah.
else.
So this orange guy back here is
Yep.
a custom one that they made for me many years ago,
Okay.
and I also have an orange set of tenors, which are the
Oh,
five
okay.
drums.
Yep.
And I have a set of those, and I put wheels on one end of the case because you imagine how big the case is for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how many times I've balanced that snare uh, on a suitcase in the airport, and then I'm pulling the tenors behind me. And the airports always have tiled floors. And
Yep.
so that is rolling. It's a bucket, a bucket, a bucket, a
It's like
bucket.
it's
It's
like
so
it's like
loud. Everyone's staring at you. You got a backpack with maybe cymbals and all the things, and you're
you're like,
trying to get
okay,
through.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
especially the very first time, like for me at Pearson Airport in Toronto, you're by yourself. And then when I land, there's often a Yamaha person or a colleague or someone who's now touring with
For
me
sure.
after that. And they can help carry some of the stuff. But the
It's
very
hard.
first time is tough and silly. So I try and borrow as much as I can locally.
Yeah, I'm touching wood. I don't think I think only one or two times I flew with my own equipment, but normally I will call the distributor and trying to get something just for me over there. I will play with it, so it's
Yeah.
easier. Snare pedal is different, like a hi-hat snare and pedal, yeah. But the rest, no way. I'm not traveling with a kit anymore. I will use what I can find there.
What they
But
have. Yeah.
But talking about gear, I want we jump on two because the time fly, and I have a few questions. You're a businessman, and in the good way, because you're really a good achieved musician. I mean, you have your project, you do the. I mean, you're running like a drum corps, but at the same time, you're developing products. So you are doing the mad equipment like mad pads and mad cymbals, a shield.
Mhm.
First, the pads. I'm sure it started because you have student, you have drum corps. They're like 100 tapping on a snare. It start to be annoying after like a while. But I'm sure you have a story about that. But my question is how you started to develop, because you need to find the right pad. It's not so easy to find the right material to be
Mhm.
sure the bounce is nice, and particularly for drum corps. So where did you start to build a product that you can say, I will stamp that this can be that can be on the market?
Yeah. So it started because of COVID,
Okay.
because all of my work disappeared immediately with COVID, as it did for
Yeah.
so many drummers.
Yeah.
So I was able to do some composing for some marching bands still that were away, but
Okay.
that was pretty much it.
That's
So it was tough. And then I had a tenor practice pad, so again the 5 drums,
yeah.
and I broke it,
Okay.
and then I reached out to sponsors, and they're like, we're not able to really do much right now. It's COVID. Um,
Mm.
so then I started looking at how much practice pads cost. I was like, I can probably make my own.
Yeah. Why not?
So yeah, so my uncle is retired now, but he's a custom kitchen builder and designer. So
Okay.
he has a beautiful shop on his farm, like 10 minutes away.
So let's do
So
something.
let's do something. Yeah. So then I looked into researching the rubber, because practice pads used to be made of gum rubber.
Yeah, it's hard to find that.
Now, yeah, now they're mostly made of neoprene.
Mhm.
Neoprene's very cheap. It comes in any color you want, and you can put your logo in it. It's very so that's
Yeah.
why most companies switch to neoprene. So I was trying to find what the old rubber was that everybody used to use, and what the durometer of it is, which is the amount of bounce.
Yeah. About.
So then when I got that figured out, then I bought 5 of them at different thicknesses,
Okay.
and then I made 5 prototypes and played on them, because
Okay.
you have to glue it down to see if it works too, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. For
then
sure.
once I did that, I'm like, oh, it's this one, because I wanted one that was I wanted a pad that the marching drumline people would like, but a drum set person would still like too.
Yep.
Because the drumline people want an even thinner rubber to have more of that high pitch and feel the wood. So I
Yep.
really wanted to get something in the middle ground, and I did. And then the other thing that bothered me about practice pads is they always get loose in a stand. So I
Always.
made a yes. So I have one here. So I made a practice. So when I made mine, it has this cutout.
Yep.
It has 3 of those, so it fits in a snare stand, and it
And
doesn't
how
fall out.
big? How big is that one? 14?
13.
13? Okay, because I
Yeah,
couldn't see it. 13.
yeah,
That's a
it's
good size.
13. Yeah, it's big enough, and also a lot of Canada's marching bands use 13-inch snare drums,
Yes, you're. Yeah.
which have recently been discontinued. But there are hundreds and hundreds of 13-inch snare drums, so it fits in that, but it'll still obviously work on a
Mhm.
14, and then just work on a stand by itself. So it's been good. So they are a little bit more expensive because I am using natural gum rubber,
Okay.
and I was making them all by hand for the first couple of years. So
Wow.
I was cutting them, painting them, sanding them, doing everything all by myself. And
Congrats.
as
Congratulations.
right, thank you. So as COVID has ended, and the work slowly started coming back, eventually I was able to find another artisan to make them for me.
Oh, wow.
So I'm still ordering all the wood, ordering the rubber, and getting it cut and sending it to him. He's building it, and then I pick them up and clean them, and I still package them and ship them and do all the marketing. So,
That's
um,
amazing.
but I'm no longer in the dusty shop cutting and sanding anymore, which is pretty great. And it's been a really nice business for me.
Oh, yeah.
It's still growing and doing really well. I've got some really wonderful influencers online, and it's been really great.
I'm
So
curious to try it, right? Because I like to dig into a pad when I'm not a I played drum corps when I was like 15, 16, but not so long. I did maybe a year and two, but I kept I always like to have a pad not so thick, like a
mhm,
small rubber. So I'm sure I would like it, because if it's too I don't know, like smushy,
squishy. Yeah.
squishy. It's not my type. So I'm sure I will like it, because it's like when I will back to Canada, I'm gonna I'm gonna call you and have it. I'm gonna try it because I'm sure like and 13 is my normally I like bigger pad like 13 and 14 inches, the two sizes that I like the most because like
Mhm.
you just said, they're rotating, and
Yeah.
12 sometimes doesn't fit on all stands. So so it's just it's personal taste. For example,
Yeah.
I had like, you remember those 6 inches or 8 inches, I think, from Real Feel back in the days. We're talking
Yeah.
about 20 years ago. I had
Yeah.
one of these guy. I was throwing in my bag, but the point is they're shaky, they're bound, they're I mean, you start practicing and they don't want to stay on the table. So I get tired of
Yeah.
it. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get a pad that I like. So normally I prefer a bigger pad, and 13 is a good size because you can put in a snare case. So when you travel, it's fit closer to the snare, in a 14-inch case. So and it's easy to travel, and you can practice on your snare when you warm up yourself before a show. So I think it's a you
Exactly.
you did a good pick with the 13. Yeah.
Thank you. And the natural gum rubber just has it's a cool feeling, but it's also really great sound.
Oh yeah.
So that's a big part of why some of my influencers want them because they're shooting videos for Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube and
Okay.
TikTok, and they want to have that sound. And the neoprene just doesn't make that sound.
Yeah.
The only downside about the rubber, obviously, it's more expensive, so you pay for that. But you can't leave it in the sun because it will
It's
tan.
true. You're gonna tan.
It,
Yeah, yeah,
it'll
yeah, yeah.
tan. Yeah. So I send it with a little piece of paper. It's like, don't leave this in the sun. Like you can go practice in the sun, but
So
don't leave it
I'll
in
leave
the
it there.
window. Don't leave it in the window all summer.
Mm, they're
Yeah.
gonna be yellowish after a few
Yeah.
days.
And it'll just
Well,
dry up.
you
Mhm.
remember the old white marine pearl drums back then, the Ludwig, the Gretsch, all
Yeah.
these kits. How often I've seen a kit is yellow, the thumb is yellow, the beijing have a part yellow, and people are like, why it became yellow? Well, it's a factor of warm
This
and plastic, it's chemical there. So,
exactly.
and I
Yeah.
understand, but I like the rubber feel. And yeah, you're right. It's very hard to find a good bounce and a good product that it's gonna age well. Because some pad that I realized over the years are I still have them and they're very good, but some they're chipping, they're breaking apart. It
Yeah.
sounds weird, but the because there a lot of big company will have they're gonna use like those kind of what's
Yeah.
called that the
Chipboard. Yeah.
chipboard. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's not going to happen with these guys. And with the natural rubber too, if it starts to peel up a little bit at the
Yeah,
edge, you can
yeah,
just put a little dab of
and
glue there,
it's
and it's
done.
done. Now you got
Yeah,
another 10 years. Like it doesn't, because the rubber doesn't go bad, right?
that's amazing.
So that's all you got to do. Yeah.
A good
So the
job for that.
shields, thank you. And the shields are more recent. So I've been prototyping them myself for a year now.
Okay,
And so I just launched them just a month ago for the public, and I saw a peer using a similar product,
okay,
and so I started looking into them, and there's not very many people making them,
yep.
and so I went to my local glass store and asked them to cut the dimensions that I wanted, and I had them cut, and it's a different polymer than plexiglass because
Okay,
you need to be able to cut a hole in the center without it shattering.
yeah,
So
yeah.
but it's like that. So it's the same stuff they use for bulletproof glass.
Okay.
Yeah. So I tried it, and the first time I tried it was in a rehearsal, and my bandmates couldn't believe it because the cymbals weren't hurting their ears anymore. So I just put a heavy
Mhm.
curtain behind me so that the sound would hit this shield and go back into the curtain and die.
Yeah,
And
gotcha.
all my bandmates are taking their earplugs out. They're like, "This is amazing." So I knew
Yeah,
I knew I was onto something. And I make them 22 inches so they fit in a cymbal bag.
that's great.
So instead of having a giant plexiglass booth that weighs 300 pounds, and
Flipping all the
yeah,
panels.
so one of the things, because it is such a new project for me, but one of the things I'm saying is, isolate the cymbals, but not the drummer.
No, yeah, yeah. You don't want to be in
Yeah,
a you want to be in a cage. You want to
yeah,
be on stage.
you're still there.
Uh,
So
but
yeah, so I've got a
how you attach? Sorry, how you attach them? Like I mean, you put the hole in the middle, but is it a regular cymbal stand, regular boom,
yep,
or like yeah?
yep,
Okay,
yep, just a regular cymbal stand. So it's the same hole. It's a 1/2 inch hole. So it's
okay,
the same hole that a regular cymbal has.
that's
So
amazing.
and they just go on a cymbal stand. So here's one.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah,
It's really
that's it.
simple. Yeah,
And the
yeah, yeah,
logo is in the center. And once you put your cymbal felt on, it's gone, so the audience doesn't see it.
yeah, 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 yeah.
And some people are like, well, but then people can't see what it is. I'm like, but that's the whole point, is that they're invisible,
Invisible.
right? We want them to be invisible, but but the logo's still there for the drummer when they're taking them on and off. And I've actually had a theater buy a set so they can keep them at the theater for each band that comes through.
Oh, that's great. You should.
Yeah.
I'm just bringing ideas. You could even people can even laser die cut their name on it if they really want to be seen, and it's like a promotion. You know what I mean? It can even be colorful. Like imagine like a kit with like yellow transparent like in front of the bass drum in front of them. It's kind of it starts to be like a gimmick, but it's cool. I mean,
It'd be
it's a good
cool.
concept. You know what I mean? So you have all the doors open for you. So it's a great product because you just mentioned something very important about the big plexiglass. I a few times I work with them, and when it's the production, bring them on stage. It's not so bad. But one day I have to rent one long time ago, and they gave me one very scratched, very like with all like lines in it. So and when the lights goes on me, you were watching lines and reflection pretty bad. I
Yeah.
would say. So I think your idea to have a just a 22-inch circle you can manage around you, it's
Mhm.
way better, way better.
Yeah, and so and you can buy one, or you can buy them in a pack of two or three, and they get a
Okay,
little bit less expensive when you buy larger groups of them.
okay,
So my standard setup for me is three. So I put them in front of my two main crashes and
okay.
one down low in front of my snare.
Oh, that's great. So yeah, so one,
Yeah,
two, and three downer. Okay,
yeah, that's my
yeah,
main one. Uh, my hats are pretty loud. I am not a gentle drummer, so my hats get pretty loud. So I often end up with one on an oblique by my hi hats as well. But
okay.
yeah, and then for Bowie, I've got other backup singers right beside me. So sometimes I'll put one on each side to keep the bleed from their microphones.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you clip
Yeah.
them on stand like a regular stand, or you were, and
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah. I just so right now I've been using the Crosstown
Yeah,
hardware, the Yamaha hardware
so
that's
light,
ultra light.
so
It's
light.
super
Yeah,
super light. So four of those stands in a bag is like 16 pounds or something. It's or less than that. And so it's like that, and then the shields weigh nothing in their own little bag and ready to
that's it.
go. That's
Oh,
it.
that's a great idea. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
great idea. And even for like rehearsing, like let's say you're just practicing in a studio. So many time I went in a like rehearsal studio, and you're cramped in a small booth, like let's say like if 20 by 20, and you have the singer, the bass player, and they always complain about the hi-hat and the cymbals because the isolation is bad. Sometimes the reflection, like the sound is bumping. So I'm sure a lot of studios could take advantage of that kind of product for permanent setup. I mean, for practicing. I'm
Yeah.
sure it can be very helpful for them, for sure.
Absolutely. This summer I substituted in a band with a really wonderful singer, but she does not like loud drums. And so her hesitation in having me be her substitute drummer at times is that
It's like,
I
oh,
tend to be a pretty aggressive drummer, and so I brought the shields, and midway through the show, she turned around to me. She's like, "These things are amazing." Because she was just so happy that it wasn't so loud, and I was like, "Okay, I am really onto something here. I have to start making these for other people."
yeah, that's great. That's a good idea. Hey, time fly, but I still have a few questions for you. And because sorry, I don't want to cut you on
It's
that, but
okay. Yeah.
by the way, if the people have questions, there's a chat they can ask on the chat, and they can send you an email. Or sometimes we're receiving question on Drumfills Cafe, and I can forward you the question if people actually at the end. Not now, I want you tell the viewer where they can purchase the pads and the shield. Okay, but at the end, let's continue on the question, and then we will come back on that.
Great.
Yeah, you wrote books. You wrote two books that one I was aware of, the Mad Practice, because I saw it online and all that. But the Developing Modern Drumline, I sorry I didn't know this one. So how did you started to? Because I wrote two books too. So I want to know your approach. How was where did you start? Like let's say the Mad Practice pass. I'm sure it's because you started your pad, and but the other one, for example, is older. I think so. How did you started that?
Yeah, it's actually the other way around. The Mad Practice Pad book I wrote in 2004.
Oh, okay, it's a
So
long time. Okay,
yeah,
I
so over
discovered
20
that book
years
like a
ago.
few years ago, but I didn't know it was so okay.
Cool. Yeah. So
Sorry.
the first one came out in 2004. So I started teaching practice pad in the lessons. I started having a lot of working pros in Toronto coming to my drum lessons. So then I started opening it up to like a practice pad class.
Okay.
And so I started having like 10 or 15 Toronto rock drummers coming to take practice pad class with me. So I was writing out all these exercises that I had developed for myself when I was marching, or exercises that I had learned. And so I was writing them all out. It just made sense to culminate them into a book.
Easier.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so I did it in Microsoft Word. I used the most horrible notation program that doesn't exist anymore. I
Anymore.
had to I had to click every 16th note for the entire book. But I made the whole thing myself, and I paid a friend to do the art. I recorded a play along CD of me playing on a practice pad.
Okay.
To my knowledge, nobody had written a practice pad specific book either, so I thought that was a nice little niche for myself.
For sure. Yeah, of
And
course.
then I spent my wife and I at the time, we spent $5,000, and uh, we printed many hundreds of books. And then I snuck into a trade show with a few of them in my bag, and
Okay.
I showed them to the biggest publisher at the time and in Canada for books. And they said, "Yeah, we'll buy them all. Let's get started."
Wow, that's
And
a great deal.
yeah, and so I made my money back immediately. Um, and then I revised it, so it's been revised a few times now. And through different things in the market, the copyrights have returned back to me.
Okay.
So I'm self-publishing that book. And then the drumline book came from starting the drum lines at so many schools and having so many teachers asking me questions about how do they march, and what sticks
Mhm.
do I buy, and all these different things. So I basically wanted to write like the book for people who don't know drumline, but they want
Okay.
to teach a drumline. Everything you know, sort of drumline for dummies kind of an idea.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, so I wrote that book after that. So that would have been around 2008 or 2010, somewhere around there for that second book.
Okay, because I discovered the math practice pad through a student that he got the book, and actually it was during COVID, and because I was teaching around 20 students during that time online, 100% online, and he has that, and he sent me a few, just a page or like a screenshot for I can see we're gonna work on, and it's the way I discovered that book. So that's why I was thinking you maybe started that book like recently with your
I
pad, but
see.
that's why. But
That's
it's
funny.
great. That's great,
Yeah.
and you have a kind of a niche because there's a few like Anika did one. There's a few per person they make like books for pads,
Mm.
and the people. I think it's a good tool because you can, for example, right now I'm in an apartment that I cannot have a drum right now, so it's gonna change soon. But now I cannot. So I have a practice set complete with the bass drum pedal, but it's all pads.
Yeah.
So you see, so when if I there's so many people in the same situation, kids, they need to practice, they want to practice, but they don't have a place that they can have a real kit. Of course, you can tell me there's electronic drum in our days, but it's not the same budget too. Like, I mean, if you like a pad, you can spend like one on like to I don't know, like $20 to 200 $300. You're gonna have a pretty good pad,
Yeah.
and you don't need a stand if you don't want. You can put on table. But a drum, electronic drum is gonna, yeah. If you don't go use, you're talking about 1,500 and up. So
And up.
in general,
Yeah.
so it's a different game. But that's amazing.
Yeah.
So for just for finishing, like like what are your coming projects? Like what's coming for you in 2025? Let's say.
Yeah, so the shields are definitely something that's brand new. So I'm really hoping to push those out and get work with some different influencers and help make that product. I want to shoot a lot more videos.
Okay.
I've spent the last I've spent the last few years building mad practice pads and starting these new bands, which have been really wonderful. And I've been relying on my influencers and everyone else for shooting videos. I haven't been doing videos myself.
Okay.
So I need to promote myself and do a lot more of that. So there's going to be a lot more of those coming out soon, which will be really great. And then the Adele Michael Bublé show is brand new. So we've just done our first performance at New Year's Eve. And
Mhm.
then the Talking Heads and Blondie show is coming out this spring as well. So those are brand new projects that I'm doing, and just really, really fun. Yeah,
That's amazing. That sounds cool.
nice
And where
variety.
the people can get your pads and your shield? I'm sure on your website, but is there any
Yeah.
stores in town and things like that? Just let us know.
Yeah, thank you. So the stores are coming. I've had a bunch of stores reach out, especially for the cymbals.
Okay.
But right now they're available online. So it's
Okay.
madsounddynamics.com. And that's the parent for both the pads and the cymbals. And
Okay.
I have some more ideas coming. So yeah, the ideas and the creation I'm pretty great at. The business stuff, I mean, it's going well, but that's not what my degrees are in. I'm a trained drummer and singer. So I'm learning. But yeah, so there's going to be more coming. So that's why I recently changed it to Mad Sound Dynamics as
Okay.
an umbrella parent for it. So it's madsounddynamics.com, and at Mad Sound Dynamics is our Instagram and Facebook. Yeah,
Okay.
and michaelbeauclerc.com. Yeah, links to it all
That's
too.
amazing. You have a pretty good line up in front of you, and I think you achieve a lot of things. You're a good inspiration, I'm sure, for a lot of musicians and people in Canada, because it's you've been around and you're doing a lot of good things. So I just wish you all the best, buddy. I mean, it's just like keep
Thank you.
going with you're doing, and I'm sure it's gonna be just new challenges and new good things for you. Thank you for being part of DFK season 11. We're at 5 year now, 5 years,
Amazing.
so it's a long run. So thank you for
Yeah.
being part of this season. I wish you all the best, and let's keep in touch, my friend.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for being part of the day. See you
Thank
soon.
you. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Thank you for Michael. If you want to reach him, you can ask a question in the chat. You can also send us an email or go through like the social media of Michael or through his website. If you have other question about what we're doing, like I said at the beginning of the interview, go on our website. You will find a lot of information. And like I said, just feel free to text us if you have question, suggestion. We always try to ameliorate our website and our concept. So on that, have a nice week, and I'll see you very soon.